You are listening to Claret Blue, an Aston Villa podcast brought to you by Birmingham Live.
Hello and welcome back to the Claret Blue podcast. Today we've got a special Q&A episode. We're back to chat some usual nonsense. We've also got some actual football related questions to talk about. So with football coming back in, what is it, 5-6 days? It's time that we start talking about current day Aston Villa again. So Matt, James, are you ready to go through some audience questions? Most of them are football related and there's a couple of usual silly ones in there as well. So we'll get started with the first question, which is there any chance that Dean Smith will change the formation to play two strikers up top and number 9 always seems too isolated? That's from Adrian.
I'm going to say, A, we're not going to know until the first game, but B, until it's actually played. And we see how they're lining up in attack and defence.
Can I answer every question like that?
It's probably going to be pointless because the way Villa have played all season is with 3 forwards. You know, you've got two inside forwards and a striker, and you know, maybe across the whole season, I'd have said play 2 strikers because on average, Villa might have done better like that. But you've got a stretch of 10 essentially smash and grab fixtures where Villa need to win out. And I'd go with the formation they've been the most comfortable playing with in training, and that's the 4-3-3 kind of variant that they're using. So I don't think so. It would be a massive difference, wouldn't it?
It does feel like the start of a new season again. So you kind of do think, or maybe they've experimented with things over the time away. But obviously there's only been 2 or 3 weeks of actual training as a squad again. So whether you can do too many actual changes to formation and line up in that time, I'm not sure. But it's difficult, isn't it? How much can Villa have actually changed in the kind of 8 weeks of self-isolation in a squad game? How could they have done that? Yeah, you can look at set pieces and video clips and keeping your individual fitness up, but besides that, what more can you do as a squad? I don't think we'll see radical changes to formation and personnel and things like that. I just hope that there's a bit more fight and desire from the boys this time around.
You've got to have a look at what's been Villa's biggest issue, and I don't think scoring goals has actually been the biggest issue. I think we always want to score more goals, but I think it's keeping them out at the other end that is the biggest concern for me. Now, I admit that you're not just going to play with the second striker only for the scoring goals. You want to get the ball to stick up front and give that overworked defence a bit of respite. But I'd be inclined to agree with you guys that if you're going to make wholesale changes to the way the team's set up, at Bodymoor Heath, in which the players have only recently been allowed to return to full contact training, and a couple of behind closed doors friendly matches, I don't think those are really going to give you a great deal of scope to start ripping up the rule book and starting again. So I think Dean Smith will just be trying, having used all his Zoom calls and his virtual coaching from afar, I think he'll just be kind of reminding people that the jobs that were set out for them way back in July, they've just got to all do them better.
Like, I'm thinking here that if over this 10-game stretch, I'm not really looking at like tactics, because you look at the Bundesliga and all the teams that were kind of doing all right. Some of them have fallen completely off. I mean, Schalke kind of just dropped 4 games on the bounce. This list you bring up in a completely new circumstances. So form doesn't really matter. I'm not even sure tactics in general will have like that much effect. You're looking more at how the player roles and how much cohesion there is and how ready the team is on day one, more so than these kind of little formation adjustments. In a regular season may have a massive impact, but this is like a brand new world, basically, isn't it?
I think the fitness is going to be so important, because you're going to find out quickly who's been at the biscuit jar, aren't you, during lockdown, because they're being expected to reach them. I mean, it's weird because the back end of the season would normally be, you'd probably, if you're talking to the Martin O'Neill area, you'd be talking about Villa kind of crumpling because of fatigue. But now you haven't got that. You've got people kind of whose fitness issues are going to be that match sharpness. It's really interesting asking people to play full pelt for a real consequence when they've been kind of lying dormant for the last couple of months. And if you imagine this was a normal pre-season, Villa or any of the rivals would probably have played up to 8 to 10 pre-season matches. But we're almost thinking Villa's first 3 Premier League fixtures, maybe at the level of fitness that they're normally playing away at Kidderminster Harriers with.
Do you think that potentially suits us though? Because surely the clubs that we're playing against are all in the same position. It's not like we've had a bad pre-season. Everyone has not. Every team we play will be lacking that match sharpness. Does that kind of level the playing field a little bit?
I suppose this is where your conditioning team earn their money, don't they?
Yeah.
To try and make sure the drills that they've done and those kind of individual plans that people have been asked to do on their own treadmills to make sure that they've got the edge over the rivals.
Smith called them said those training ground players, right, in a criticism. I think that's why I say maybe conditioning and the player roles they have may be more important than a specific formation, because if these are training ground players in the team that can't turn up here because of the atmosphere, there's going to be no atmosphere. And if they're good on the training ground, these are essentially 10 really intense training matches that are going to be watched by the entire world, but with no one actually there. So yeah, it's going to be mad, guys. Seriously crazy.
All right, question 2, hopefully in a little bit less time than 9 minutes. Otherwise I'm going to be here all day. Second question, who's your pick to come out of the blocks and surprise us all? This is from Mark. Because an obvious answer is John McGinn coming back is going to have a massive impact, but that's too easy of an answer. Who's going to come out and be a real kind of difference maker for Villa?
I don't know if it's going to come true, but I hope that it's Anwar El Ghazi, who's been pretty good. And he's come in for a lot of flack, some of it right, some of it quite unfair. I know people get quite militant about either attacking El Ghazi or defending him, which means he's a player that does definitely split opinion, but he's got it, man. And if Villa are to succeed, they need to stop rotating on the wings and trying to pick between El Ghazi and Trezeguet, who's the actual option. So I think El Ghazi's got it in him to claim that spot and be a real difference maker in his 10 games.
I think it's going to be Neil Taylor. I think Matt Targett is going to be dropped for crimes against Alice Bands, and I think Neil Taylor is going to storm in, and without the pressure of the crowd on his back, he's going to emulate his compatriot Gareth Bale, become a flying left back, left wing back, and save the season. Or failing that, I think it's a real time for one of the defensive midfielders, whoever it may be. Probably won't be Danny Drinkwater, but whether it is Marvelous and Camber or Douglas Luiz, that back four needs protecting. And I think that it's time for one of them to remove Dean Smith's option of rotating them and to say, I'm going to nail this down. I know I'm hedging my bets by saying one or the other, but I think it's important that one of those comes in. What we're looking at for the midfield, you're going to have obviously McGinn back in, which to me probably means that Conor Hourihane is not going to get a look in, or certainly not, for until 89.5 minutes when McGinn starts to tire. But I do think somebody's got to own that role as a protection blanket in front of the back four, because it's a relegation scrap. It's not going to be free flowing 5-4 victories. It's going to be Villa are going to have to keep it tight, start keeping clean sheets, and then hope they can do something at the other end of the pitch.
I think the right answer, really, regardless of what we think, is we need it to be Danny Drinkwater who comes back and impresses everyone, because he's got off to an awful start, and it's an expensive loan deal in a really important position for Villa. So if Villa are going to get anything out of him, he has to come back and do a lot better. Right,
question number 3, let's move on. A nonsense one, the first of the episode. Half-time grub, what are you going for on the first match day? This is from Dom. It's weird, isn't it? Because I'm not going to go for a pucker pie and a bovril from the kitchen. So what do you do? Oh, you go for a 3-course meal, seeing as you sat at home.
This one caught me out. This one really caught me out, because I was thinking, I forgot people eat at halftime. I forgot that was the concessions, because I remember watching the last match against Leicester at halftime and just sat there in silence, just looking at the floor. Do people eat at halftime? Yeah, they must do. There must be more than depression.
I'll tell you what I'll probably be eating, because I'm trying to lose weight at the moment because of the lockdown and the lack of exercise.
Some lockdown pounds on.
I saw somebody tweet the other day saying it's amazing how much my hair weighs. Not my hair, their hair. Saying they've put on about half a stone by not having their hair cut. I can't get by with that excuse. I've put on about half a stone by just being a bit of a fat, lazy idiot. So I would probably be eating carrot sticks and hummus. What I would want to be eating.
Man.
What I would want to be eating. Do you remember? At buffets when you get those kind of little they're kind of like mini cheddar in flavour, but they're all different shapes. You got like little diamond shapes, so it's like a snack mix. I'd quite like some of that because it's so kind of Moorish, isn't it?
It is, but it's also like the lowest bar possible. Like, this is a complete fantasy. You can have anything you want, Matt. You don't have to go shopping off like the Aston 99B section, man.
I'm trying to keep up this persona of me as being man of the people. I don't want to let people know that really I'm kind of licking caviar off a kind of high cost, off the body parts of a high end escort.
That's a massive jump. Yeah, this little pick and mix to like the elite food of carrots and hummus, which is just at the same level, Matt.
Next question. If we stay up after this 10-game run-in, will it be a bigger feat than promotion last season, given the level of opposition, pressure, squad implications, etc.? This is from Ross. It would be a big achievement to stay up, but it's not like we're doomed at the moment. We were even in Norwich's position and a few points adrift. I think staying up from that position would be a massive achievement, and it still would be big if Villa do stay up from where they are at the moment. But where we were last year in terms of promotion, when we put that 10-game winning run together, we were down and out at that point. So I don't think you can kind of beat the feat from last year.
Listen, the way they won the promotion, kind of snatched promotion from the jaws of mid-table mediocrity last season, was an astonishing achievement in its own right. But Aston Villa still had the squad that was expected to be amongst the top teams in the Championship. Whereas, although we kind of all got a little bit seduced and excited by the spending spree last summer, they still spent it on a whole team full of untried and untested Premier League players. So if Dean Smith could have, given the way the season's panned out, if it transpires that Dean Smith has moulded that bunch of, kind of Premier League newcomers into a team that can grow and be improved for a second season in the Premier League, I think it's impressive given what we saw back in 2015-16 when we shared similar excitement that summer and then saw us already kind of cut adrift and virtually relegated by New Year anyway. I think it would be, especially given the fact that it's just such strange circumstances. It's kind of winner takes it all now, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd say the same thing, considering how the season's folded out. Before all this happened, I'd have probably disagreed with myself. But this is different. Like it is like a 10-game mini tournament where Villa are in the bottom and they have to win. It's not like a sad slide, is it, anymore? It's like it's a relegation. It's like now it's a tournament. And if you win big and you stay in the Premier League. So, yeah, I agree with Matt.
I love the name of the guy that sent this in. His Twitter name was Tentin Quarantino, which just made me laugh. Pretty much his name is the reason he's got in, to be fair. But he's basically asking, do you think the gap in play and it being behind closed doors will be a benefit or will be a hindrance to Aston Villa? Impossible to say, isn't it, really? We are literally just guessing at this point, having not even seen a single football game in this situation yet, like an actual competitive game. I think we'll probably know a little bit more on Wednesday night, and it's kind of nice that Villa are the first game back as well. Not in terms of footballing ability, but we kind of get to set the standard a little bit in terms of it's all eyes on Villa. What is it like playing a Premier League game behind closed doors? It's at Villa Park as well. Like, how do we handle that situation? Everyone's watching Villa, so yes, there's some pressure there, but you almost think if you're one of the Villa players, you'd be thinking, let's put on a show here. It's all eyes on us. Let's show everyone that we're capable of staying in this league. That could be a massive lift for the remaining 9 games for Villa. And then if things do all go south in that the season can't continue and we have to end on points per game like everybody else, us winning this game in hand is massive.
Regardless of whether Aston Villa get the results to stay in the Premier League, I think playing behind closed doors is a hindrance to Aston Villa and a hindrance to every football club, because football clubs aren't just 11 players or however many subs you're allowed nowadays as well. Football clubs are fan bases and are still, as much as I can understand the financial needs and the needs for the for the competition to be completed, it still doesn't sit right with me. Football being played behind closed doors, it kind of almost feels a little bit pointless. So I hope Villa have still got enough about them to get the points that keep them in the Premier League for next season, so that Aston Villa can be a Premier League club, football fans and all, next season. Because as much as the novelty value and the surreal nature of it's going to be fascinating for a couple of weeks, I'd rather be sat in the Trinity Road stand than I would sat sat in my armchair, even if the queue for the lose is a bit less in our hand.
All the focus is on Villa. I mean, there's a lot of talk about how Man City Arsenal's the big one, but Villa come first. That's the first game. It's been treated up a bit like a warm-up act for Arsenal. Man City, which I don't think is very fair at all. But the actual question, whether it be a help or hindrance, I don't really. We're not going to know. It could be a help because you get a rest. There's a big rest between the last two games. Villa can reset, readjust, and adapt to everything that's happened. Or it could be a hindrance. They could have lost any semblance of cohesion or form that they may have had heading into this, and it didn't really look like they had that much. To be fair, though, so it could be a bit of both.
Next question from Steve. He says, will the first games make or break our end of season if we only manage to get a couple of points, or will we still be in it till the end?
I think for confidence purposes, it's gonna, you want to get some positive momentum going.
Yeah.
But again, it's this thing with no crowd. Kind of if Villa lost the first three games, the next game after that they played at Villa Park, the crowd would be edgy, and if somebody gave the ball away after 5 minutes, you could feel the atmosphere turning. Yeah, but you're not going to get that, are you? You're not going to get that. I think it is important to hit your stride, because the games, although James says you've had a long rest, you've had 3 months without football, you've now got bang, 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 bang. So if you've lost a couple of games and you've got to get yourself fresh and ready for the next one, there's going to be a few people who think, nah, I'm not feeling this one, Gaffer. I don't, those 7 stewards, I don't want to run out, and I don't want to let them down again next week. Put somebody else in. I don't think it's make or break, but it's important, and it's important to get off to a bright start.
If we're expecting obviously the remaining 10 games to be finished, then yeah, obviously losing the first 2 isn't the be all and end all. But if the season's currently comes to a halt again, and they say, right, that's the end of it, we're going to have to stop it, and you've lost those first 3, it obviously is make or break then. Whereas if you'd won those first 3, you probably would be seeing yourself safe. So I think you just have to treat it as every game is must win, and hope that whatever you do is actually enough.
You're right, because if they scrap the season next Thursday, after those 2 outstanding fixtures have been played with Villa, Sheffield United and Arsenal, Man City, then you're right. you need to win that first one, because that levels everybody up to the same amount of games, I think, doesn't it?
If you're looking at this time next week, and Villa have got 1 point out of those 3 games, I'll be significantly concerned about any promotion, any survival prospects. Like, genuinely, you have to win the Sheffield United game, I think, because, like you said, if the season's cancelled like this weekend before we play Chelsea, then we're in a massive problem, aren't we? If we're going down based on literally the result of that game. So I think Villa's got to treat every fixture like it's a must-win. Absolutely.
Callum OHare, do we need him? Asks Matt. Your thoughts, please. I don't think we need him, but I don't think we're going to have the choice of getting to keep him anyway. I think it's the way he was dancing around celebrating promotion. I think he's probably going to be a Coventry City player before the end of the week at this rate.
It all fits in. He can't speak into another club until 24th of June, so he's got like 2 weeks with Villa. Whether they're going to call him in for training like Jacob Ramsey, I'm not sure. Like the contract hasn't been organised. Callum OHare wants first team football. He's probably not going to get it at Villa. He played 70% of Coventry's minutes this season. That's first team football, and he's going to get that in the Championship. And even if Villa were relegated, he probably wouldn't get it with us in the Championship. So, he's going to go.
I'm a bit disappointed that it hasn't been resolved until now, that there's not been any contract talks or any contract developments with him, which probably tells you all that you need to know, really. If Villa were that keen to tie Callum OHare down, it would have been a done deal by now. I think it probably makes sense for Callum OHare, with Coventry now being a Championship club. It's a bigger and better opportunity all of a sudden than it would be to go and rebuild your career in League One. You've already got a lot of credit in the bank down there for his part in their promotion season. It got a little piece of me dies when one of our academy prospects has to go elsewhere. It might be because we had a good natter with Mark Albrighton, a couple of weeks ago, if you want to plug that one down. I just think, if only. But I suppose if he's any good, you can sign him back from Coventry for 10 million quid, can't they, in a couple of years?
What really annoys me with the Callum OHare thing is, like you said, Matt, like it weren't sorted out ages ago. It's the fact that Villa don't benefit from any of these academy graduates, like that earn that Villa's academy is quite successful if you look at it, because how many players that have come through the ranks, maybe not broken into the first team, but are earning a wage in football, even, your Nathan D'Alfonso's. Like, Villa aren't earning any money off these players. They're not getting any benefit from them. They're going elsewhere.
How old is he though, James? Will they get a bit of compo for him?
He's 20. He's same age as Douglas Luiz, so it's not even. He's young, very young. He's a youngster in terms of football, but it's like
he's not a kid though, is
Douglas Luiz is playing for the. It's tricky because Villa sat on these players for they've left them for so long, and you got Keenan Davis, who's around the same age, I think, who hasn't really had the first team chance, and there's been the injuries, but that one's going to come up, isn't it, in the next year? So going to have it all over again, I think.
Next question specifically for you, Matt. You'll be pleased to know you get a little bit of airtime for once. Holly says, "What's your favourite IPA?" I'm
just drinking the Punk IPA. I'm not rocking one today. I've not got one because we're recording this in the middle of the day. I quite like it because it packs a bit of a punch. I'll drink anything, me. To be honest, I'm actually yearning for a trip to the old joint stock.
Nice.
As soon as lockdown's eased enough to get us to the pub. So, Holly, I'll drink anything. Just get anything. Buy me anything. I'll drink anything.
I don't think she's offering to buy you a drink here.
Well, let an old man down gently. I thought me and Holly were going for a drink. We're fine.
Oh, God.
We like that.
Next question. Probably one that isn't for you, Max. It's talking about hair. Jake says, would you rather have Tyrone Mings' current hair or Douglas Luiz's first haircut when he came for the dreads or whatever they were? This is one for you, James, I reckon.
Tyrone Mings. Oh, absolutely. Douglas Luiz chops and changes, and I think Tyrone Mings is staying. He's very committed to the hairstyle. He's got the dreads, yeah, and it suits him like to a T. Whereas Douglas Luiz is changing a lot, and they all suit him. But Tyrone Mings' hair is Tyrone Mings' hair, man, and it's good.
What about you, Matt? Seeing as a man that's follically challenged, which one of those two would you rather have?
I don't mind, really. Do you remember, you're probably too young, do you remember those games with, do you remember those things where you used to get iron filings in a magnet and you could move the iron filings around to people's head and beards?
No,
I don't recall.
All right, okay. I don't care, mate. I don't care. My hair is hair today, gone tomorrow. Move on. I don't want to talk about hair.
This question's from Ben. It's a food-related one and our last nonsense question of the episode, and then we'll get back to talking football. He says, there's three options here. You have to eat one of them every day for the rest of your life. You can eat one of them once a month, and then you can eat one of them never again. And it's Indian, Chinese, or Italian.
So every day is Italian because it's a wide and varied cuisine. There's pizza and there's deli. So you can eat healthy, right? You can survive. You can not die. Indian is the takeaway food, so we'll have that every often. China, and I'm going to say Chinese is the one I could do without when it's with those two.
Yeah, I agree. That's bang on. I do like a Chinese, but
and it's not that I will fight to the death for a Chinese. But if I'm thinking about the rest of my life, like, I don't want to die. I don't want to die having just like loads of salt and pepper chips. And I mean, like, you can have noodles and stuff, but I'm thinking you can have pasta, so you kind of get that. Yeah, I'm fine.
I would tweak the order slightly. I would have Indian every day because I could survive solely on poppadoms and samosas. I would have Italian once a month as a special treat, and I'd order like 300 quid's worth from Domino's. And I'm not a massive fan of Chinese food. You know, it's a bit too the sweet and sour. Just it doesn't sit that well with me. I like a bit of yuk song, but it's all a bit kind of fragrant, isn't it? They just try a bit. I'm a plain man.
I think this is a question that probably requires a bit of actual analysis and insight. So James, I'm going to come to you for this one. Because Matt, you're useless and I can't be bothered to answer it. He says, is it true that Wesley and Heaton could not play in the run-in if they were fit, as they were unregistered when they got injured? If this is true, it's a slight blunder.
There's been no update with the registration rules, and Tom Heaton himself said it's probably unlikely he's going to be back. And the last we heard of Wesley, he said he was in pain passing the ball. So it's not happening, is it? Heaton was probably the more realistic one, but even when they're injured in January, you're still looking at these injuries as being resolved in October, and that hasn't changed. I mean, they're coming back, they're doing pitch, you know, they're working with the football, they're rehabilitating well, but it's just too far. These are serious injuries, really serious injuries, and the context doesn't change that.
Is there any particular youngsters that you'd like to see Smith include in the matchday squad, considering the new substitutions rule that sees, I think it's 9 players on the bench now that you're allowed? This is from John.
I'd love to see Louis Barry just because there's such a buzz and an excitement around him. Just for 10 minutes, if Villa are chasing a game or need a little bit of invention and something different, just to see what he can do. I think I said this, we did a Q&A last week, and I think I said it seems to be the done thing that it's easier to kind of integrate strikers and attacking players, I think, into relegation threatening teams than it is defenders. I mean, I've heard a lot of good things about Mungo Bridge, not just his name.
Great name.
But I think it might be a bit, with the stakes being so high, at that end of the pitch, it might be a bit too much of a pressure situation, even without a crowd there. But yeah, it's probably the obvious answer, Louis Barry, but just to see, if we can start really believing the hype.
9 spots gives you such a big chance. And I mean, you can make 5 changes, but still in free period. So there's a massive opportunity here for a youngster to come in and kick on, whether it's, one of the Ramsey brothers, Louis Barry, Mungo Bridge, or even Vasilev, who kind of gets forgotten now because he's jumped into that first team a little bit. There's a massive opportunity, and, the situation exists that they will shine because there is the pressure's there in a match situation, but the atmosphere, it's like, for these, could be almost a training game coming in, a really intense training game that they're coming into, which I think probably a good environment to bed them into.
Looking ahead to next season a little bit, whatever next season actually means at this point, do you think that the transfer policy will completely change for next season, regardless of the league that we play in?
I hope it doesn't. Mate, there's been problems with it, right? But there are always going to be problems. No matter who Villa bought, there was always going to be some issues. Embedding into the Premier League and adapting to a new level and trying to bring what they had in the Championship up to the top tier. If we go back down and we are to keep the same head coach, then ripping up the policies that seem to be working, like evaluating different targets and bringing in not the player who's the cheapest, but the one who fits that general profile of a role, would work for me. I mean, you're not going to probably get your Saeed Benrahma if we go down for sure, but I trust in Villa to kind of find that equivalent and dig deeper and bring them in if we could to go to the Championship. So I'd rather that than, say, bring in Fellaini on a 1-year deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think if you kind of start scrapping the kind of long-term vision after one bad year, I think that's when you start to run into problems that we were seeing under kind of the Lambert era, if you like, that we kind of go, we're going to go down this route, and then it doesn't work, and you go, oh my God, we need to change it. We need Joe Cole and Philippe Senderos, and that doesn't work either. I think you kind of need to stick to your original plan, even if it is a bit ropey along the way, and hope that you kind of find the odd gem along the way, and that's enough to kind of keep you going season on season.
You'd think that next season, regardless of what level Villa are playing at, they're not going to have to do the same amount of surgery that they did last season. It's not quite so much of a gambling. You're right, you might be gambling over 3 or 4 players rather than gambling over a dozen players. I think what I would like to see change is that, as much as it was important last summer for Villa to build a squad because they were so thin on the ground given the amount of departures after the playoff win, for too long now, certainly for the last couple of seasons, Villa have left themselves light in different departments. So whereas the start of Bruce's last season that ended up being Dean Smith's promotion season, there was a massive imbalance because they didn't have any central defenders. Really, they stocked up massively on central defenders last season and last summer, and defensive midfielders, but only had one striker. I think it just needs to be you know what I mean? They just need to make sure that they either trust their options that are coming through the youth, or that there's adequate cover in all areas, not that these 7 players in one position and 1 player in another position. But I agree with you in the fact that, it's a bit of a cliche, but the kind of young and hungry type that Villa signed last summer, I think they have to do that because there's been so many cases of Villa getting no value out of players. New managers have come in, players haven't been wanted by those managers and just been sitting on massive hefty contracts for 3 or 4 years and have been of no value to Villa. Villa either need to get the value of the player during the length of the contract by making sure they're heavily involved around the first team, or they need to make sure that the players that they do sign still have some sell-on value if they can't, don't make the grade at Villa.
Yeah, nice.
Tumbleweed following that. I'm expecting a standing ovation.
No,
I
thought James might jump in, but he didn't.
I agree.
Last question sees us back to the current season from Sean. He says, who starts against Sheffield United for Villa? Let me get a pen and paper just so we don't lose track. Neeland in goal for me.
Yeah, I agree. We said that Heaton's not going to be back, and I think Pepe Reina was running up the right wing last time I saw him. I'd go with Neyland, whatever his name is.
At right back, Freddie Gilbert.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. He brings that bit of energy.
Centre defence, and it's got to be Mings and Engels. I like Conson, I like Courtney Hawes, but Mings and Engels throughout the season have done the best job together. And individually, I mean, he slipped up against Tottenham, but bygones are bygones now. And he's, in terms of our two senior pros at the back, it's him and Mings.
I'm going to come. Oh no, I'm not. Well, I was going to say we'll come back to the midfield three because I think that's the hardest point, but we'll get it out of the way. McGinn.
Got a left back, yeah.
We wrote him down.
I'll just assume Matt Target. It's not going to be Neil Taylor.
Yeah, it's Matt Target. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've got Neeland, Gilbert, Mings, Engels, and Target so far. Midfield, obviously, John McGinn comes straight back in. First name on the team sheet. Who plays alongside him? We've got two options, so we've got two other positions to fill.
I would say that Nakamba has to have one of those positions because he's probably the only actual defensive midfielder out of all of the players we've got who are called defensive midfielders.
Do you think you can play Nakamba and Douglas Luiz in the same side?
I don't know, but that's why you need drink. That's why you go back to the earlier question. You need Drinkwater to kick on.
I don't think Drinkwater will play for us.
Nakamba needs Drinkwater. Nakamba needs Drinkwater to do well. And then Douglas Luiz and John McGinn can handle rotation and the others and do their job. But Nakamba needs that playmaker. And Danny Drinkwater is that playmaker and he needs to step up to that level.
Can I throw a curveball? Can we not bring Jack back inside? Nakamba, John McGinn and Jack Grealish.
But I was going to say Nakamba, McGinn, Hourihane and Grealish on the left. But when you're talking to me about Danny Drinkwater is the playmaker that Nakamba needs, I'm thinking, well, Conor Hourihane is surely a better option than Danny Drinkwater.
It's a complete toss-up, man. It really is. Drinkwater should be at a better level. We brought him in to do a really good job, and he hasn't. He should be better than Hourihane.
So if you bring Jack in the middle, who plays left wing then, Matt?
Well, that's the thing. It's whether you trust two wingers to play. You've got two flaky wingers. Do you trust both of them, having had a 3-month break, to leave the line up front with Samatta? If you don't, then the midfield if you're saying that Jack stays wide left, then the midfield for me would be this. It would be Nakamba, McGinn, and Hourihane, I think. And then I don't know. Are you comfortable with that? Otherwise,
there's a possible argument you just put Luiz in there as well, and you don't have him so defensive.
My argument there is putting Hourihane in for the first game isn't condemning Luiz because you put Hourihane in just to get that lucky free kick. That's it. Like, that is the difference maker in that first game for me. And that's not saying Luiz is bad. 9 times out of 10, I'd put Luiz in over Hourihane. But in this first game, Villa might need every little kind of opportunity. And if that's someone's better at free kicks, then someone's better at free kicks. And that's Conor Hourihane.
Well, let's do that then for the first game. Let's put Conor Hourihane in ahead of Douglas Luiz. Because we know that he has this first game back factor where he normally does well first game back. And then we'll drop him when he's played well for the next game. And because, like you say, it's those fine lines, isn't it? If he's the one who's delivering that free kick or, that cross that for the winning goal, then do it like that. That would mean that we've got a front three of, I think it picks itself, doesn't it? Or is there any debate over Trezeguet versus El Ghazi?
I think I stick with the guy that we pick, and that's El Ghazi, because if we're saying he should be the one who excels in these conditions, and he has to be the one who starts, I think. And I like Trezeguet. I think he works hard, but nothing ever seems to go right for him.
Well, mate, he's earning a couple of £1 million a year from Aston Villa. I wouldn't feel too sorry for him.
I wonder whether we started the episode talking about what Villa could actually have done during lockdown in terms of squad cohesion and an actual kind of tactics playing together when they've only been in training for 3 weeks or whatever it is. I wonder whether that kind of the extra time that the coaching staff have had in terms of analysis would have offered any different insights from them in regards to who they pick. That usually you're assessing the squad game by game and you've got this body of matches played that you can look back on, but you've only got a week to make any decisions before your next game rolls around, and then that next game impacts the following and the following. I wonder whether having 3 months of nothing has given them opportunity to look back on the season so far and decide that, oh, actually we can make this tweak or we could try this?
Yeah, I actually think, Dan, I think they could have poured through Y-Scout in vast detail in the last 3 months. I think more of an influence would be who looks at it, who's looked at it in training, who's looked at it in the pre-season games. Let's go from there, because you know what I mean. It's all very well kind of going back over the analysis of game. The world was a different place back then. I think, like we've said before, we've got to treat this as a mini season. Who looks sharp enough? Who looks like they've got the energy? Who looks like they're up for it? I think that'll be more of a factor. And I actually think those 3 months will have been. We've kind of talked about these Zoom kind of appraisals that we know Dean Smith did with his players when everybody was under lockdown. I think they'll have used those more to iron out mistakes and show individuals certain situations than they will have. Okay, let's move in completely to a different position. I think it'll be done like that. Can I just do a little bit of housekeeping, which I don't feel that I'm not felt inclined to do when we've had Paul Fulton or Mark Albrighton or whoever on the other end of the phone.
Yeah, go for it.
We are going to start doing question and answers, live blogs around matches and around topics for Villa. That it's a new platform that we're using, so we're going to advertise that heavily around our YouTube channel, around our social media channels, and on Birmingham Live. So it's interactive, so you can get involved, you can join the debate, you can ask questions, and we can just have a jolly good natter on there. The other thing is we're looking at launching a Claret Blue newsletter, which you can sign up for via email. That's going to come out once a week, which are going to be showcasing the best of what we've got to offer on the podcast, on the YouTube channel, and some of our written content as well on Birmingham Live. We would like you to say nice things about us. We'd like you to follow our new Claret Blue Twitter account and leave positive reviews on iTunes and on YouTube and all the other podcast platforms. So just wanted to say a big thank you to those of you who have stuck with us through these weird times. Hopefully you've enjoyed some of the different content that we've done with the player interviews and stuff like that. And even though football's back, we're still going to try and bring you as much of that as possible. Does that wrap it all up, Dan?
Yeah, saves me a job. Happy days.
Thank you for listening to Claret and Blue, an Aston Villa podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, then please let us know. We love hearing your feedback. We'll be back soon with another episode. Until then, up the Villa.